In this episode, we're actually in Vancouver, Canada, talking to a good colleague of ours who understands the process that's actually going to help you to really benefit from the other side of more. It's very interesting. We all want more, and a lot of times we get stuck once we have the more that we want. So I can't wait for you to listen to this conversation of going from process to just tool that you can actually use to have a better life, more enriched life. So without further ado, we're going to go and chat with Georgee Low. Before I do that, actually, please subscribe to us, leave us a rating, give us a review. This is so helpful to us when you can do that. And we come behind you and see what you're interested in. We can bring you more of the same. So let's go and have a chat with Georgee. Georgee, welcome to my show. How are you today?
So good. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here.
No, absolutely. And you're coming in all the way from Vancouver, Canada. I hope it's not as chilly as out here in North Atlanta. It's very interesting how we get this chilly weather right in the middle of fall. But anyway, I'm sure my listeners don't want to hear about the weather. They want to hear about you. So let's go in and talk about you. So tell us who you are and tell us what you do, Georgee.
So I'm Georgee, as you said. So I am really here to inspire people to take action to create the lives that they really, really, really want, so that together we can create a nicer, kinder world. Because I really believe that when people are doing fulfilling work, they're a little bit happier. When they have some meaning to their work, we're a little bit nicer, and when we're nicer, our world just gets better. So for me, how I do that is really helping purpose-driven solopreneurs to build businesses that make money, because we need cash, but to do it in a way that is aligned with their purpose, aligned with their values, feels good. It's not like gross kind of thing. So they've got clients, they've got money that supports the life that they really, 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 really want. So that's pretty much what I do all day, every day.
Awesome. So talk to me a little about sort of how did you get to this point? Did you always wanted to do this? Like, were you like sort of came through school and like, oh my God, I want to do this. How did you get here?
No, before becoming an entrepreneur, I was in insurance and finance. And I love my job. There was lots of variety. I really thought I would do it forever. And then I had a baby. And when my little tiny son was born, I was just like, I just can't go. I can't leave him and go back to work. And so that's where my entrepreneur journey started. And I knew nothing. Started with building a landscape company, built several, companies along the way. And then that's what led me to where I am now, to really help other people do what I had done, because I wanted a way to not miss the things, in my kid's life, and to really kind of do what I wanted. But I also needed money to support that lifestyle. And to me, it just made sense to do entrepreneurship. So maybe it was a little delusional, but it's worked out so far. So here we are.
Yeah, it's I think it's amazing. And you've when we talked earlier, you've been doing this for a few decades. So it seems to have worked, because you're still
here.
You're still here. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about one of the things that we talked about off air was just really sort of how you're really helping folks to go through this process that's taking them into creating a, sort of having a tool in their arsenal that they can use all the time to make decisions, to do life with. Let's dive into that and let's talk about what that is.
Yeah. So we were talking about, it's called the Why Discovery. It's based on the work of Simon Sinek. It was one of the most transformational things that I ever did, both for my life and for my business, when I first went through it. Because what it does, it gives you a decision-making filter for every single thing that you do. And it's kind of like we were talking, it's this process that you do first, which leads to having this tool that you can use always. Like for me, it is absolutely my go-to. And I think for people that want to build businesses that make a difference, that's something that's going to matter to the world, I don't think there's anything better. I'm biased, but but I really don't think there's anything
Yeah.
better, especially to keep you on track. Because like you
Yeah.
said before, I've been doing this for 26 years now. You need something that keeps you going when it gets hard, because
Yeah.
it's going to get hard, right?
Mhm.
It would be lovely if we all started businesses and we never had a hard day, but that's not the reality of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I find this really helps you as well when you're just like, I don't know if I can do this today,
Yeah.
one more day. And
Yeah.
it's super useful for that.
So, and that's awesome. And so walk me through this process. Like, how does this process work to then arrive at sort of that place where you have this all the time?
Yeah. So it starts with actually looking at, I would call it like your origin story. So we start to look at parts of your life that were really, really impactful and just moments. So like if you were to think about, say, 3 to 6 moments in your life from childhood to kind of maybe university, your work life, but moments that if you were to think of it right now, you could actually feel it in your body. Like it's like a visceral experience. So we
Mhm.
start with those moments, and then we start looking for themes. Like what are the themes that are coming up within, say, those 3 to 6 stories? And we start to pull those things out, and then you'll end up with it with one statement. So it's like, what's your contribution to the world and what's the impact of that? And it sounds like, oh, this might be something more for my life. And we hear people that are, I'm searching for my purpose and those kinds of things. And it is like that and so much more. But that's where
Mm.
we start. And then from those themes, you can then pull out your values. And to me, values are something, they need to be actionable. So quite often you might go into like an organization or even for your business, you might have like your mission or your vision statement written on your wall. But so what? How do I know what that means? How do I know what you actually really do to bring that to life? And that's where I think when you take those values and turn them into an action, so that I can have a yes or no filter. Did I do that today? Yes or no? Am I aligned with that? Yes or no? How do I make this tangible? Because that's really where the magic comes in. So we
Mhm.
go through finding those themes, finding your values, making them actionable, and then using that for everything that you're going to do moving forward. And you can take that and then go, okay, let me look at my life now, my relationships, my business, how I'm showing up every day, and how am I doing? Am I on purpose? Am I not on purpose? Am I in alignment? Am I not in alignment? And then you can make decisions moving forward with that. But it's not a complicated process, and it's not easy. And if you've watched Simon's TED Talk where he talks, Simon Sinek's TED Talk where he talks about this, he says that the reason it's so challenging to actually articulate our why is because it sits in the part of the brain where there's no language. And that's why you need someone to help you with it. Because
Mm.
I truly believe that everyone sort of innately knows the essence of their why. Like I think
Mhm.
people can feel it, but it's the articulation that's challenging.
Mm. Oh, that's powerful. And so, and I know you kept referring to Simon. So Simon, this is kind of, he was the one who sort of created this. It was the idea or the system, if you may. And so
Yes.
you work with his organization or you work with him.
So
So
I don't work with his organization,
okay,
but I went through his process
okay. So you went through.
and
Okay, got it.
went through his process, and then I am he's my friend now. At the time, his team member, Stephen Shedlesky. He has been literally my support through this whole thing in helping me to deliver kind of this why process as I added my own things into it as well. But it's absolutely based on Simon's work for sure. And I've been very, very, very fortunate to have the support of one of his teammates, Stephen.
So you yourself has gone through this process, and you're using this tool every sort of for all the decisions in your life. So you're actually helping others to do the same thing, right?
Exactly, 100%. And it's the foundation of the work that I do with all my clients, because I think it just makes building your business easier. Like, how can we reduce some of the friction and make it easier for people?
Yeah, and I think that's so important. I mean, this podcast is about more, and it's kind of like one of the phrases that comes up in everybody's conversation. Everybody wants more, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of the dimension in your life you're thinking about. But this is about business, and it's also about marketing. And to get more, like, these are some pitch stops almost that you have to make. And one of them is, hey, you've got to kind of do this why discovery process and go through this and have this as a tool, in order for you to actually get the more, because the more on the back end is going to be more satisfying when you really sort of do this, right?
100%. And, we talk about marketing. Everybody wants to know what's going to make me different. How am I going to stand out? What's my unique selling proposition? You
Yeah.
can use your why for that. And I have had people who they'll go through the process, they get their why statement, they use it at their networking events. They, start with why, as Simon says, because
Yeah.
that's the thing that makes you different. Like, you could have a million life coaches, tech founders, relationship coaches, and things like that, business coaches in an event, mortgage brokers. But the one thing that can really set you apart, like when you're doing your intro, is to start with why.
Awesome. I
Because,
love that.
right? Yeah. And because we're really too, when we're looking for clients, we're looking for people who believe what we believe, who
Yeah.
can be on the same, in the same kind of group as us, so that we can help each other better.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's kind of going to sort of, I suppose it's sort of ought to create a tribe for yourself, because these are people who connect to and resonate with your why and your story. And they
Yes.
lean into to your movement, to what you want to do, because they essentially, there's a connection there, right?
Absolutely, 100%. And I'm one of those people, like, I don't really believe in competition. Like, I think there's enough work for everybody, but I'm looking for the people where I'm the best option to help them, and where it's like you say, that community. I'm a big, big, big believer in community, and finding your people that can support you and help you along this journey. And so I think this is one of those tools that allows that to happen. And if I'm not the right fit, someone else is. And that's fantastic. And I think that's what one of the things with Simon's movement with this is, if I could like wave a magic wand and every single person in the entire world could do the why discovery, I would make that happen. And clearly I can't do it for everybody. Simon can't do it for everybody. So the more people that are able to do this, then it's easier for us to find the people that can help us too.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right. And on that note, where you said, like, we all could, if we could wave the magic wand and just get everybody to do it, which begs my next question, sort of like, who are some of the folks that are a good fit for this kind of stuff? Because people might be listening and say, well, that's not for me, or this or that. But obviously everyone kind of technically belong to a tribe or belong to a community,
Yes.
and maybe several community, I don't know. But like, who would be, in your mind, as you think about this, like, who are some really good fit that would be, really, really helpful if they lean into this and get this done?
So I think it's people who are struggling with finding their purpose, know that they have one, and are challenged with articulating it. So whether you are a business owner, whether you're like a high level executive, any of those kind of people that feel like it's there but just can't articulate it. If it's people who are wanting to do business a little bit differently, so you are purpose driven, you want to do meaningful work, you want, your business to be more than just about making money, you really want to make an impact, I think this would be life changing for you, quite honestly. Yeah, people that lack motivation. It's like, I want to get out of bed in the morning, but I'm not quite sure. I'm struggling with that a little bit. I want to work on my business, but I'm challenged with finding that initial sort of pull. Really,
Mhm.
really great for that. So
Yeah.
those would be some of my top suggestions for people.
Awesome. And then I guess if you are, like if you're doing well, like your stuff working for you, but you still don't feel accomplished, like you still don't feel like you have this connection to this impact or this purpose, you still feel like something is missing. Is that sort of some of the folks that you also help?
100%, 100%. Because it's that, and I think it's where it comes down to the articulation. Because it's
Yeah.
like, I feel it and I know it's there and I just can't find it, right? It doesn't feel tangible. So it's perfect for people like that, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And it's really sad because I've seen and I've heard, we've heard probably more than a couple stories of people who would either commit suicide or who would either just hurt themselves. And they're very well off. Like they have everything that you would imagine they have everything. But that one thing that's missing is that thing that you're talking about, which is that why, where they fail to start with it because they just can't find it. And you're helping people to discover that and really help to ensure that that's always there. I think it's just a huge game changer. I mean, how many lives you probably have already saved that you have no idea about, right? So that's awesome though. I really love that. um
Mhm.
and my thing is so how is this? It's almost kind of like when these amazing things come to your front door, is like, where have you been all my life, so how is it really different from what else is out there? Because I'm not sure if people have encountered other experiences that are similar, or is this the only one? Like what are your thoughts around maybe other things that are out there, and how is it different? This podcast is brought to you by MI Digital Hub. MI Digital Hub is a all-in-one 360-degree high-level experience of your digital presence on the web today. If you would like to understand where you are now, what does your digital presence look like today, visit midigitalhub.com. Gives you a full snapshot report on where you are when it comes to SEO, your performance, social media listing, your Google My Business listing. All of those things you will be able to find in a single tool like the MI Digital Hub. At the MI Digital Hub, you will be able to generate that snapshot report and manage exactly what's happening with your digital presence. So visit midigitalhub.com today. Check it out, generate your free report, and certainly dive in to see how you can make changes when it comes to your digital marketing. This podcast is brought to you by mMessenger. mMessenger is your all-in-one SMS tool to facilitate SMS messaging across 200 countries around the world. Visit mmessenger.co to learn how you can start using SMS for notifications, for alerts, for updates, whatever you'd like to share with your customers. mMessenger is the communication tool for you. mmessenger.co. Visit that location and you will be able to learn more about how you can get started today with mMessenger. This podcast is brought to you by MI Group. MI is your source for technology solutions, digital marketing, and hosting your digital assets on the web today. Visit migroupco.com to learn how you can utilize our services to help you grow your business quickly. migroupco.com to learn more.
I think there's a lot, especially nowadays, I think there's a lot of like programs and people helping people find their purpose. And I think what makes this different is that often people think of purpose as what you do. Like, what's my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? And I think the one thing that makes this really different is this is about why you're going to do it. This is that bigger overarching purpose, or why, as we call it, that goes through everything in your life, because what you're going to do may change over time. That's fine, that's normal, that's natural. But when you can connect to that bigger thing, that thing that is overarching for everything, that connects you to something bigger than yourself, and it's in service to others, I think that's what really sets this apart from all of the other things out there that are helping people to find their purpose. I think, like I say, most of their stuff is about the actual what. And yes, we get to that through this, but it starts with something bigger. And I think that's the thing where, like, when you were talking about people that are committing suicide and they're feeling like, you know, what is the meaning of my life and why am I even here? And nothing's really making sense. I think that's the biggest difference. It's because this is not something for what you do, but it is literally, and it's really hard until you go through it. It sounds a little bit crazy, and I kind of call it magical. But when you get it, it is literally this visceral response where suddenly you realize, that's it. And you knew it, but you just couldn't say it. And it's
Yeah.
one of the things, you know, when I've helped people go through this, some of the things that they're so amazing is when people go, oh, now I understand why that certain thing didn't work, or I didn't stick to that opportunity. And it's like this huge burden has suddenly been lifted off of them, because there's nothing wrong with them. It just wasn't a fit. But now you know why it wasn't a fit.
Yeah.
But I think that's the biggest difference, is that definition of why and purpose.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And I think in my own experience too, and just kind of in talking with colleagues and other entrepreneurs, like the question is, so what happens when you get more? So you want more, and if you know, if everything worked out, the stars align, you got the more, what next, right? And I think a lot of people don't have that piece answered, and that's really where I feel like what you do really help, because you have the opportunity to get more. Like there is always that opportunity for you to get more, but if you're not thinking beyond that, like people, I want to make a lot of money. Okay, so if you have a lot of money, what you do now? Or you
Exactly.
know, you want more leads, you want more clients, so what do you do after that? And I think this process helps you to really kind of think through, to ensure that you're always aligning, which leads me to my next point around sort of, do you have any case or any sort of practical stuff that people sort of get into that you've witnessed, sort of people do with this, that really has transformed them, transformed their lives or their business?
Absolutely. So whenever you go through the process, at least in the work, like when I go through this with people, you basically end up with like this document, this sort of checklist, where it's like, okay, at the top of this, I have my why statement. So for me, right, my why is to inspire people to take action, to create the life that they really, really want, so that together we can create a kinder world. So I'm like, that's my top thing. And then I have my values that are listed out as actionable things. So for example, for mine, my top one would be, will this allow me to create spaces where people feel like they matter? Yes or no? Will this create possibilities and freedom of choice? Yes or no? Will this allow me to meet people where they're at? Yes or no? So everybody gets a document like that. And so what they then do is, if they're, let's say they're getting ready to launch a new product. Step one, will this product allow me to inspire people to take action to create the life they really, really want? Yes or no, right? And you go through the list. And then let's say they've been offered an opportunity to collaborate, or, you know, maybe do a presentation somewhere, something like that. And sometimes, you know, when you get that sort of gut feeling where it just doesn't feel right, but you're not quite sure why, run through the list and you'll know exactly why. And then there's no charge to it either way, if it's a yes or a no. So we make decisions based on that. And, you know, I don't know if this happened to you, but it's happened to me before. I tend to say yes a little bit too quickly. And then I get myself sometimes in situations where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so not a good fit. Why did I do this? And now I have to go back and kind of try to get myself out of something like that. It really makes that happen a lot less when I remember to use it. I've seen it with people who they take these things, like saying they'll go to a networking event, or they do their introduction, or people ask, who are you looking for? And it's like, I'm looking for this. and this is what I believe. And it helps them to get more of the right kind of clients, the right kind of collaborators for them. So it sounds sometimes really, kind of big and out there, but it's actually really, really practical.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fantastic. And you're hitting the nail so much on the head. Like, excuse me, it's just so powerful. Like, people get called into meetings, and you go into meetings, you go into conferences, you go to network sessions. Like, I just came from a conference, and I'm like, like, did it really help me? Did it really matter? And it's like, maybe I said yes too quick. And so we're talking about sort of integration. As always, remember, like, you remember your watch, you remember the stuff that you need to kind of adorn yourself with as you go out there. Like, how do we remember this? Like, are we asking the right questions? Are we checking these yes no answers, right? And I think that's so powerful, because like, I end up in so many meetings sometimes, and sometimes I end up meeting so many people. I'm like, why did we actually, why were we meeting in the first place? And I wondered, like, what's that best way to, I know we can integrate it throughout our lives, but what's the best way to actually do it? Do we need to, write it on the table stone of our heart, like something like that, so we don't forget it? But what are the best ways that we can really integrate this? Maybe there are other things we can kind of integrate it with, but talk to me a little about sort of, how do we really ensure that it actually works for us, for our meetings, for events, even sometimes in personal lives. Like, people invite you out for different things, and you want to be nice, you want to be, the cool kid, but at the end of the day, that takeaway, it doesn't check the boxes. How do we deal with that?
Yeah. And it's true. Like, and I think it's like anything, for it to be useful, you have to use it. And to get into the habit of using it, it's a little bit of effort. So what I tend to recommend people to do is to literally write it down. And then what I do, and I've been doing this for years and years and years now, is that, people like to journal, or they have like their evening routines and things like that. I have it in my, like, a little kind of tracker thing that I created. And I just go through it at the end of the day. Did I do this today? Yes or no? How? Yes or no? And sometimes when you're just getting started, maybe you just start with just your big why statement, or maybe you pick one of your values, but it's having it in front of you all the time. Like, this sounds, I used to have it written down, and I'd have laminated sheets, and they would be all over my house, because I wanted to remember it. I wanted to use it. I wanted to make it practical, because I knew when I did, it made a difference.
Yeah.
And I think you pick the method that works for you. Maybe it's on your phone, like the lock screen on your phone. Oh, let me just do a quick check. Maybe it's, oh, every day at lunch, I have a little reminder. Let me just see how I'm doing today with these things. It doesn't have to be long, because what happens is, once you start doing that, it will become your go-to. Like, it will just become the thing that you do automatically. Like, now I can just run it through my head. It happens just on its own, right? I programmed it enough into my system, that's how I operate. But you're going to have to commit to doing the effort in the beginning. And so, simple, just write it down and check.
And that's the thing. And I love that. Because conceptually, it's like, if you do this enough, like, if you have enough reps on this, it becomes like natural, right? Where
exactly
the things that you don't forget to do today, they didn't just happen by chance. Like, you've just been doing them over and over. And that's kind of why, they're like a part of you now. So getting this to be a part of you is going to take some practice. And, like, you gave me an idea of, like, maybe we should just do it like a vision board. Like, we've got these vision boards in our offices or wherever.
Yes.
Maybe we should have one of those, and something to always remember until you get it, right?
Any kind of visual reminder, and something that's meaningful to you. And when I do this in a group workshop, everyone actually creates an art project, and each little art project is a reminder of what their why and their values are to them. I think, wow. It's really fun, but it's that intentional, right? We're intentional about what that would be to create that.
I love that. I love how it doesn't feel like man, we got to hike, or we got to go up to some mountain, you know, or we got to go to
No,
the gym. I love how it doesn't feel like that, even though it's not easy, but I love how it's not like, you know, that's not the first impression that you're getting, that you got to burn
yeah,
some sweat. But it's so powerful. So people who are listening, and they're interested in this, right? And say, wow, I
yeah.
love this. I want to participate in this. What should they need to actually do, whether it's connecting with you, connecting with the resources that you have, to really lean into this?
Perfect. So if you want sort of one-on-one guidance, someone like me to guide you through this, you can go to my website, decideyourlife.com. It's on there. You can find it. Um, if you want to have a conversation about it, I'll talk to anybody about the why and purpose all day long. You can totally feel free to do that. And then obviously Simon's resources are amazing as well. So you can watch his TED Talk. It's not going to help you find your why. And I would suggest reading the book Find Your Why, not start with why, but find your why if you actually want to be able to find it. He also has an online course, evergreen course that you can do on your own, that's inexpensively priced as well. So there's lots of resources out there, for sure, to do it. But if you want, like I say, that one-on-one attention guidance, I love doing that, but you can find that on my website.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you end up like, I don't know Simon. I mean, I've seen his stuff a lot, I've seen his work,
Yeah.
but I imagine even if I knew him and had my phone, he probably wouldn't have time to kind of do this with me. And then he would say, you know, you need to talk to Georgie if you need some help, talk to somebody like her. But you still
Yes.
get the benefit of the materials, you still get the benefit of the community. And so
Yeah.
going to, it's decideyourlife.com, right?
Yep.
Where you can go and you can find these resources, and connect. I think this is something that I want to do as well. And even if you might have done this before, I think, you know, just kind of like that tuning up is, I feel like it's so powerful. Like that could also help me, just kind of tuning up, making sure that I'm hitting the right, you know, I'm firing under all cylinders, right?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. And I've had, it never fails. Like when I sometimes I do group workshops too. And I always get someone that comes in and they'll be like, what if I'm the only one? What if I'm the only one that doesn't have a why, or you can't help me articulate it? And I'm like, I understand that. And you're not. I'm like, I absolutely 100% guarantee
Yeah.
you will walk out of here with your why statement. No questions asked. Like it's going to happen. So,
Nice. I gotta
yeah.
ask you, I know, you know, you've been doing this journey of entrepreneurship for 26 years.
Yeah.
That's like an adult making your own decisions and maybe married and have kids. That's a long time. And I staying in business for years is not easy. So my question is, how have you done it? And what would you say has been the best thing that happened to you?
Um, Relationships, people. I think that is the one thing for sure that has allowed me to keep going. So a supportive group of people to be there when I'm feeling like I can't do this, and then having the connections with real people. And I think people sometimes lean nowadays, especially, right, we want to go to social media, or we want to know, what's the easiest way for me to find my clients and reach out and keep building and growing my business. And it's, look at the relationships you've already built with the people that you already know, and really spend that time nurturing relationships with people, because that's really what's allowed me to build my community, to get people to do my why workshops, to work with people one-on-one. When I have a new product or service and I'm like, hey, what do you think about that? It's the relationship that I have with people. And I can remember my would have been my ex-grandmother-in-law, but her name was Wendy McDonald, and she owned a company called BC Bearings, which
Mhm.
is a very, very successful company here in Canada, like actually globally. And I can remember I was in her kitchen one day and I said, what's like, I'm building my business, and what would you say is the number one thing that's been the secret to your success? And she's like, people, relationships. Like, she made sure that she built relationships with not only obviously her staff and her employers, her customers, her vendors, right? Spending that time to build real relationships with people. Because if you do that, you'll be fine. You will
Yeah.
always be okay.
Yeah. That's so powerful. They in our world, they used to say, my spirit doesn't align well with this person, and it's like, well, you kind of leave them alone. But a big part of really understanding relationship and that anatomy or the science of it, it's really understanding you, right? It's really
Yes.
understanding why you are doing this in the first place. Because like we said earlier, once you start doing this, you're literally auto creating your own tribe, your own community. And if that aligns well, then relationships then become so easy to form and to actually build, because these are people who they want to sit around you because you align so much with them. And that alignment
Yes.
comes from knowing your why, right? Knowing why you're actually doing this. So I think this all connects, right?
It all connects. And the people in our lives, we want to help each other. We really do.
Yeah.
And so when we're all sort of connected with that same kind of common belief or why, or at least we're on board with it, and then we nurture those relationships. And I think the other really good part of that too is that we learn to trust ourselves, because we have so much information coming in. And I think that's the other thing that sort of this why does, is it really grounds you in you. So you feel a lot more comfortable saying no when you just know it's not a fit for you. And it's okay, because we can get overwhelmed with information. So having that connection to self, I think really grounds us too, to make this
Awesome.
journey easier.
Awesome. Well, is there anything that I didn't ask you, Georgee, that you'd like to share with us today?
Oh, let me think. I think we've had a really good
Yeah,
conversation here
this is
so
really
far.
great.
Yeah, I
I
really
loved it.
enjoyed it so much. Yeah.
So well, I would like to ask you, because I'm sure you've read books and maybe you're listening to podcasts too.
Mhm.
What books have you read? What are you reading these days? And what podcasts are you listening to that you think we should have a listen or have a read at one of these books?
Yeah. So one of my favorite books that I've read probably this year was called The Power of Giving Away Power by
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Barzin. Really, really, really fantastic book for I think anyone in business. I'm currently reading one, Trailblazer by Mark Benioff, the founder of Salesforce.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really great book. Let's see what I'm also reading I think it's called From Strength to Strength by Arthur Brooks. So for those of you who are like me that are in your 50s and moving on to that part of your life, it's a really good book. Simon's books obviously are really good. I really enjoy the Infinite Game.
Mm-hmm.
Robin Sharma's actually The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I love that book, and I think that should be on everyone's reading list. I'm a super book freak, so yeah.
Nice,
I could
nice.
probably tell you books for days, but
Nice.
yeah.
Me too. I love that. Podcast, any podcast that
Yeah. So some of my favorite I love Rich Roll podcast. So sometimes he talks about entrepreneurship, but even if you're not like an ultra athlete or something like that, there's always great lessons with the guests that he brings on. Chris Do from the future is really good. I really enjoy his podcast for like marketing, even if you're not like a creator. I think his stuff is really good. Let's see, who else do I listen to regularly? Huberman Lab, I love that one. Like the neuroscience, how does the brain work kind of stuff
mm,
as
nice.
well. Um, Businessy ones. Let's see. Oh my gosh, I just lost it. It'll come back to me. 2 seconds. Oh shoot. Oh well, it'll come back to me. I just lost it. But anyway,
That's okay.
those are some of my
I mean,
favorites. Yeah.
you've given us so much. You've given us so much. We'll put these in the show notes, folks, so you can
Yeah.
see them and you can actually go check them out. Georgee, we are always looking for people like yourself who are master users, creators of systems, tools, frameworks.
Yeah.
That's really helped you to grow. and we'd love for you to pay that forward and share with others. Do you have any
Yeah.
recommendation of who else I should be bringing on my next episode to talk to?
Yeah, I have a colleague by the name of Simba Nye, and he's really into like human performance and neuroscience. And another fellow too, actually, is Tyrell Mara, and he works with emerging leaders through a whole system of something he calls like the deep end mindset.
Mm.
Either one of those I think would be super interesting for you and your guest, and Tyrell as well, because he is like a VP or president of marketing and sales and things like that. So he's got that background that he also brings into this human performance type work that he does. And he's just a super awesome, amazing individual.
Nice,
As
awesome.
well.
Well, we'll follow through with you on
Yeah.
maybe getting some of those connections up into the show. We'll be excited to chat with them. This was really, really awesome. I really appreciate you hanging out with us today and sharing. And we encourage folks again to go to decideyourlife.com, leaning to Georgee and connect with her community. She has a great community as well. And you
Yes.
can start your own discoveries. Thank you so much, Georgee, for joining us today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
That was a powerful conversation with Georgee Low of Vancouver, Canada, talking about the discovery process. I think we all should undergo this and just do this, just do the experience. Feel free to check her out and lean right in. This is something that I am going to do. It's tuning up for me. It's just reliving that whole experience. I think it's beautiful. I've just learned so much from this, and I hope you did too. Before we jump off here, please, if you haven't done it already, subscribe, like us, give us a rating, all that little stuff that you do to tell us that you like the content that we're bringing to you. And until next time, we always say, don't forget to choose a tool to help you rule your growth. We'll talk soon.